They're going to cut trees or plant them, right? Burn them. All right.
I'll do my best. Yes, sir. Can we get the lights, please? Well, good morning. My name's Joe Elkins. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. I'm the area manager at North Cumberland Wildlife Management Area, and today we're going to talk a little bit about what we have done, what we're doing, and what we plan to do, in particular for elk habitat on the North Cumberland. This is what most people see when they look at a map of the North Cumberland. It's 189,000 acres in 5 management units stretched across 5 different counties. But with a closer look, this is truly what the North Cumberland is. It's a very unique property. And one of the things that makes it unique is the number of stakeholders on the property. And very quickly, I just want to go through, this is where it all began in the center with the hatched area. That was the old Royal Blue. And the old Royal Blue it grew into the North Cumberland, adding the Sunquist Forest, later the New River, and the Tackett Creek. But the Tackett Creek unit is actually leased for the public to recreate, hunt, and fish, and ATVs. The old Sunquist unit is under a timber lease with a private company until 2017 as part of the acquisition process. And the New River unit, we actually own surface, and we own the privilege of allowing the public to use the area, but we don't own timber or mineral. And when I first started this job, I was amazed that you can own a piece of property, but you may not actually own the timber, you may not actually own the mineral, or you may not actually own the gas. There could be 3 to 4 owners on one piece of property. And right now, that's kind of where we're at on part of the North Cumberland. This is a view of the Royal Blue unit of the North Cumberland. It kind of shows the topography, the landscape. It's one of the most beautiful places I could think of to ever work. It also presents challenges. A lot of that beauty is the mountainous landscape, the steep slopes, it's not a lot of roads, hard access system. So the beauty is also the challenge sometimes. So let's get down to habitat work. There's 3 primary means in which we do habitat work, not only for elk, but for all wildlife on the North Cumberland. The first is through our wildlife opening program. Second is through our prescribed burning. And third is through our forest management. And I'm going to briefly talk about each of those different aspects of habitat management. This is a current snapshot of our wildlife openings across the North Cumberland. This is, you'll notice there are 2 different colors. They represent 2 different time frames. The yellow or the green wildlife openings are from 2011 to 2015. The red are from 1991 until 2010. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. But if you notice, the wildlife openings are centered around what started as Royal Blue, and in that central location where our office and our work base are at. And then you may ask about these large areas on this side of the management area, maybe why there's not many openings there, or maybe this central region on this side. And the answer is our OHV program. Our OHV program represents one of our highest percentage of users on a consistent basis are our off-road vehicle users. This represents our first phase of our OHV grant program. It's over 100 miles of maintained and signed trails crisscrossing this portion of the WMA. We are currently in the next phase, which is in the New River unit of the management area, and we'll have a very similar OHV trail system in the New River unit as we do on the Sunquist side. Now on this side, this area here is where, on the west side, that's the area that we looked at in the aerial photography. That's where we face the challenge of steep terrain, mountains, and that sort of thing. This is a typical wildlife opening on the North Cumberland. This is what a lot of times that we are working with. The exposed rock at the top represents the existing strip mine from the past era of strip mining on the WMA. The green below that represents the flat area that we are maintained in wildlife openings. Down here represents the access road that currently is maintained by a mining company. And this entire area is called Massengill Mountain. And one reason that it's unique is it's very close to the original release site of the elk back when they were first reintroduced. So this is one of our key areas that holds elk, all through the year. And it's very representative of other areas on the management area that we utilize for forage openings. So I told you earlier that the different colors represent different time periods in our management, in our wildlife openings. And from 1991 until 2010, we roughly had 247 wildlife openings on the management area, equal to 481 acres, 1.9 acres per opening. What we tried to do in 2011 is really focus on management for elk. And one of the things that we did is try to go to a larger average size opening in our wildlife openings. So you can see it from 11 to 15, we've added an additional 206 acres, but our average size opening has gone up to 7.1 acres. And currently we stand at about 276 different openings across the landscape, 687 acres. So what do we put in a lot of these wildlife openings? One of the things that we have to do, because even though elk is our focal species, is we have to be as efficient as we can on all aspects of management. And what we try to do is put wildlife openings in there that not only are easy to plant, but easy to maintain, that we can maintain for a number of years, that provide quality forage, but do not require intensive and expensive management. So this is what we have been using as a fall seed mix or spring seed mix, and working with our elk biologists, working with the Pennsylvania elk biologists. This is two of the things that we've been trying in the most recent years. And actually we've maintained, some of these plots are in their third and fourth year, and they still maintain a good component of clover. And we do supplement drill some of these plots with wheat as needed. So we also have some plantings of corn, soybean, and sunflower, and grain sorghum. And those are kind of put out as needed in different areas of the management area. When we're looking, every year we review what we have, what we need to do, maybe areas that we need to focus on. And when we do that, that may be where we put some of the corn, soybeans, sunflowers. The next aspect of management is prescribed burning. The goal of the North Cumberland is to burn 2,000 acres per year. Some of the benefits is, sunlight is the main key. It opens up the forest floor or the floor to sunlight, creating new browse and increasing the habitat in those areas that are burned. One of the biggest benefits is cost effective. We can burn in a large area with minimal cost. Let's see. One of the things that we did recently is established early succession management areas across the WMA. And if you look at the brown areas, those areas are primarily areas that have been harvested, timber harvested, that we have put fire lines in, and we're going to try to maintain those through prescribed burning. They total approximately 6,000 acres. That's why we're on a 2,000 acre a year schedule. We try to burn all 6,000 acres within every 3 to 5 years. So those are scattered across the management area. That's kind of where we key a lot of our burns. The next aspect of management is forest management. I spoke earlier about lime timber. They are the leaseholder on part of the WMA, private company. They harvest timber each year. We also have our agency foresters that work at the WMA, that they work on the areas that we have timber rights on. They have a rotation where they harvest timber each year, creating early successional habitat. And one of the things that they also do is take timber that may be of low value as far as wildlife concern, not as good in the hard mass production, and they actually cut that timber, collect acorns throughout the area, and then have them grown, come back and plant those areas in hard mass producing species. That's one of the projects that they do. So let's talk about how we get a lot of this done. It's a huge undertaking, and we could not do it without a lot of our partners that we work with every year. Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, we received a $30,000 grant from them. Each year we put in for a grant with them. They work with us each year for anything that is on the ground management, and that's really what they like to provide money for, is on the ground management. National Wild Turkey Federation submitted a grant with them last year, received $75,000. They're helping us with our prescribed burn program. We're actually contracting with the State Division of Forestry to do some of our prescribed burning. That kind of frees us up to work on other management aspects. Atlas Petroleum in Mon Petit is actually an energy company that actually has gas and oil wells on the WMA and in the vicinity of the WMA. They're a large property owner. We've actually got a lease agreement with them. They secured a lease of a right-of-way across the WMA for a pipeline, and in return, they provide us with $10,000 a year to go toward wildlife management for 4 or 5 years, and then $5,000 a year up until the time they no longer need that easement. The Campbell Outdoor Recreation Association, that is a local outdoor recreation association. I know a lot of people may be familiar with them. They were actually instrumental in the initial acquisition of the Royal Blue property, and were very instrumental in the reintroduction of the elk. That's a snapshot of the last grant we had with Rocky Mountain Elk, just an idea of where the money goes. We rent equipment to build the wildlife openings. They supply the fuel to run the equipment. You can see we bought fertilizer, lime, seed, just anything that goes on the ground towards management. This is a great example of all the different partners coming together. This is the Bear Wallow area. The red is a fire break. This entire area is part of a prescribed burning program. The green represents the new wildlife openings that were put in with the Rocky Mountain Elk funding. The red represents the help with the prescribed burn costs through the NWTF. Campbell Outdoor Recreation Association actually supplies volunteer help on the burns. And then, of course, TWRA, we supply the manpower, a lot of the equipment to get all this done. So that's just one example of multiple partners working together toward a common goal on the North Cumberland. This was the second part of that same project. It's Gunsight Mountain. And the reason I wanted to show this, a lot of times we get asked about the elk moving off the WMA onto private property. And if you'll look, the WMA is, like I think Mark said earlier, a lot of our WMAs are primarily wooded, 86% I think he said. And North Cumberland's not any different. If you look down here, these are lush green valleys. Up here is North Cumberland. Here's the property line. And when times get hard, we're competing with these lush green valleys, and we're trying to put in our wildlife openings above this property line, primarily up toward the tops of the ridges and any flat place that we can find. That's just an example of some of the challenges we face along private property. This is the the Mon Petit project area that I spoke about earlier. This was one of the openings that we put on the Atlas Petroleum property as part of our agreement. It borders the North Cumberland here, and one of the things that's unique about this area is that this year we had a new elk permit zone. Oh, I thought you were talking to me. I'm sorry. This year we had a new elk permit zone, and the successful hunter actually killed right here. It was the first year of the Braden Mountain hunt zone. and he actually killed on the Montpettit property there. This is a good aerial view. It shows when we're looking at areas to improve for forage openings, this is kind of what we're dealing with. You have this backbone ridge, steep slopes up and down both sides, and then a small flat on the top. And we try to take advantage of as many of these areas as we can to put in the work. So that's a quick snapshot of kind of where we are with elk habitat enhancement on North Cumberland. I very much appreciate the opportunity to talk to you. If any questions, I'd be glad to answer if I can.
Mr. Cox.
Thank you, Dr. Commissioner McMillan. Joe, and I appreciate the effort and the hard work. You look like you're doing great work. The areas that the timber's not such good hardwood and you're replacing with hardwood, is that not an area that you could leave open, or is it on a mountainside or a steep slope or something, or why would you go back and timber that? I mean, reforest that. Couldn't you leave that open as elk habitat?
In some cases, we could if the topography allowed, if it wasn't too steep. But one thing that we have to remember is mass production is also a vital part of the elk's diet throughout the year, eating acorns. And if we can enhance the mass production, the acorn production, that's also a benefit, sometimes as much as a wildlife opening.
Yeah, but it looks like you got 86% mass production, and when you get a little opening, it looks like you ought to leave that open to me, because they're grazers. So anyway,
Yes,
it's
sir.
just my.
Any other questions for Mr. Elkin?
If I could,
Yes, sir.
If I could, I'd like to also acknowledge the Safari Club International, the Tennessee Valley chapter. They've also been very helpful financially in supporting our efforts at North Cumberland.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your presentation. We're always interested in our Royal Blue, North Cumberland. Chairman Bledsoe, that concludes the Wildlife Management Committee.
Thank you, Chairman McMillan. Before we take a quick break, I need to add something else on the agenda real quick. I'd like to call on Chad Baker, Vice Chairman of the Retention and Recruitment Committee.
Yeah, at this time, I'd like to call up Matt Clary. He's the Region 3 Hunter Education Coordinator for a special presentation, please. Okay.
We still talking about quail, or are we on to something else now? I was trying to find one out back there, sorry, to show everybody. Thanks on behalf of the commission, thank you for inviting me here. My name is Matt Clary. I'm the Region 3 Hunter Education Coordinator. And I'm just happy that we're able to come here and talk a little bit about some of the things that volunteers do for our agency. And we've got one here today that we're going to give an award to. But before we do that, I just want to say a few things. Some of the volunteers that we have been helping with programs that we've had in the agency for, gosh, as long as we've been an agency. And I hate to say it, not to make it sound bad, but I wasn't even a thought, prayer, or an accident in my parents' minds at the time that some of these volunteers were doing work. So the reason I say that is because a lot of people think, well, I may be young, but I do understand and appreciate the work that a volunteer does for our agency as well as other agencies in the state. But also, I hear a lot. Of course, I'm getting to the age where I'm starting to think about retirement. You know, got to have enough money in the bank. And I look forward sometimes I look forward to that day when I say I'm done. I can move on in the next chapter. But a volunteer doesn't think that way. the volunteer looks forward to those days that are coming ahead, that they can help and teach another student or help another hunter out there to be safe, responsible, and hopefully, and I know this has happened hundreds of times, save lives. And that's really why hunter education is here, is to do that. But also, not only do they look forward to that, but they say, you know, I'm not done yet. I'm going to keep doing that. So even though we give awards out for certain years, for certain numbers, how many students they've certified or helped, I really don't even look at that as a milestone. I look at it as they're still working and they're still doing their best until they're done. And I appreciate that, and I know you all do too. So this instructor is from Dayton, Tennessee. He's been all over the Southeast doing this, and of course all over the country, hunting and fishing and doing things. It's been in his family for probably 5 generations. And so it's in his blood. He knows it like the back of his hand. He knows how to teach somebody to be a good sportsman. And when I started thinking about what I was going to say today, of course I don't have any papers in front of me. I don't usually go that way. I thought about being a volunteer, you know, all those things, but when I really start thinking about it, I really want people to know that, you know, our agency, we're the ones that have this program, but we're just here doing the paperwork. We're funneling the money. These people run this program, and I appreciate that because it makes my job so easy. You know, John asked me this morning, he said, can you do this? It's easy money because it's so easy to talk about somebody that, some people that do so many good things. So, but this person has been doing this for 40 plus years. Of course, our agency doesn't keep the best records, but we started taking really good records back in '74, but I know this person's been doing this since early '70s anyways, and has taught, gosh, 6,000 to 7,000 students, and I know it's probably touched 10,000 to 20,000 students. And parents and grandparents and all those people, they keep coming back, I'm sure, and say, hey, I remember you in my first hunter ed class. That's how that goes. And has taught thousands of classes. And we appreciate that. That's why we're here. But also to say thanks, and you're not done yet, because I know the officer in that county says, I'm not done yet, so you're not done yet. So, but on behalf of the agency, we want to thank this volunteer and give you just a small token of our appreciation to Larry Pendergrass.
I started with Ed, and he's older than me. I don't. No, I'm older than you, Ed. Just throw it in, bud. Thanks, sir.
Mr. Chairman, if I can take just 1 second, I'd just like to say that I think in 1973 was when I first met Larry, and we were trying to get a hunter education program off the ground, and we were doing chief instructors, and a fellow by the name of Jim Barnes, who was our very first hunter education coordinator in that region. We were working together down there, and we could tell lots of stories, but anyway, people like this that stick with the program for 40 plus years and volunteer that much time and touch that many people are certainly worthy of this recognition, and I know Commissioner Swan's a personal friend as well. So anyway, Larry, on behalf of everybody, thank you so much for what you've done for so many.
Thank you.
I'd just like to add that I have known Larry for a long time. He's been passionate about volunteering and helping with the agency for hunter safety and so forth. And I just want to congratulate him on the thousands of lives he's touched. It's very meaningful when you see the kids out there hunting now. I mean, that's what it's all about. Thank you, Larry.
Thank you, Larry.
Oh, hey, he wanted to tell one quick story that was humorous, didn't you, Larry?
I actually thought teach, I would always do something different, or try to do something different to keep their attention. My favorite thing was leave a blank in one of my shotguns, and I usually carried shotguns and rifles anywhere from 12 to 18. One of them would have one with just the primer in it. Well, the particular day that I was going to teach that night, my secretary was poking holes in the 3-ring binder, and I saw that and I thought, man, why don't I put that in the shell and fold it up and it'll blow all these, great idea, Larry. And I went to my reloader and reloaded it. Well, we were in the high school auditorium with 25 foot ceiling, so I knew it would be no problem. They moved us to the 911 building. And when I walked in, I looked and there's an 8-foot ceiling. And I'm thinking, oh my God, will that wad go through that ceiling? No, I'll aim it a little out and it'll spray the crowd. Well, when I pulled the trigger, and I'd ask the class, I'd check every gun, break it down. What did I do to that gun before I presented it? Oh, you checked it. Oh, none of them loaded. Okay, and I had my little 20 gauge and I pulled the trigger and boom, there was a hole went up through the ceiling. It all stayed together. Shot a hole through the ceiling and all the debris started falling. Everybody on the front row jumped up about 4 feet off their seat. And one little boy looked up and said, "You're in trouble." That's my funny story.
Thank you very much, Larry. I bet the kids in that class remember that. Yes, they did. So, all right, we're going to take about a 15-minute break. So we'll be back here about 11:45. Thank you.